A film is not an easy occupation. There's a lot of occupations that are difficult. Film is one of them. There's always adversity that you're faced with. I like to tell students that I talk to that, it's not a matter of how well can you make a movie. It's how well can you make it under the circumstances. Because there's always circumstances. And you cannot use that as an excuse. You can't put a title card at the head of the movie and say, well, we had a really bad problem. The actor got sick and it rained this day and we had a hurricane and, you can't, the cameras broke down. You can't do that. You simply have to show them the movie and it's got to work. And there are no excuses.
I think you every movie you go in, you have to go in with butterflies on your stomach. And sometimes they happen at the strangest times. Like there was a very easy scene in the movie of a carriage arriving and people climbing off the carriage. And the night before I shot that, I got a panic attack. I woke up at 2 a.m. saying, there's not a single shot in this disembarking of the carriage that I find a beautiful shot. And I panicked. I called my wife at 3 a.m. Tomorrow we're gonna shoot something that is master over, and I hate that. So you can panic at the strangest times. And then you do a really complex scene and you're easy. It's like every storyteller, you respond to your own securities and insecurities.
Is it hard?
Yeah, it's hard. And it gets harder. It doesn't get any easier at all.
There's no formula, there is no magic elixir that works for you.
No, you get an idea, you play with the idea, you get to the point where you say, well, I'm certainly not going to try to write that. That would be much too difficult and I don't have the time anyway. And then you find yourself doing it anyway.
Do you know where the ending is before you start writing?
I usually think I do.
Yeah. But does it surprise you?
Quite often it will not end the way that I expected it to do at all. So it does usually surprise.
Because
but that's good. If that happens, it means that you've got an organic, living piece of work that you're dealing with there. It's alive, it's changing, it's evolving as it goes along.
But what I found as I studied at UCL, and I studied English there, I started to become more at ease with a lot of the literary concepts that underlie film criticism in particular. As a filmmaker, you have to struggle with the authorial intention of a piece versus the way people interpret it. And I think as a younger man, I struggled greatly with the idea that, well, if somebody hasn't consciously placed something into a work, that interpretation must be invalid. And in studying English literature and talking a lot about it, I started to become more at ease with the idea that filmmakers, storytellers, they grasp evocative symbols, they grasp resonant imagery. And the reason these things are evocative and resonant is that they do have other layers, subconscious layers of resonance that the reader, or in the case of film, the filmgoer, can pick up on and interpret in their own way, and that is a valid approach.
There's those times when you're writing something and you get something stuck in your mind that you want to try to make happen. I think the trick is knowing when to abandon that because something else is right in front of your face. It's screaming at you like, dummy, look at me, I'm standing right here, there's a great shot. So it's that kind of combination of attack to tell the story in a certain way, but openness to what might be there.
The script was so tight and so good, and yet Quentin wasn't precious about it like I would expect going into it. Not that we changed anything, but when it got to a certain point in near the end of the film, he started slashing and burning his own script and redirecting things and condensing things to keep the movement.
Look, I can write a scene and I can be precious about it. I can write a scene 10 years ago, like I did with the chapter 1 and chapter 2. Those were in 10 years ago, and now I'm doing it. I would say we're shooting that on Wednesday. It doesn't matter that I wrote it 10 years ago. Wednesday is what's important. How do we feel today? We're here today. How do we feel today? That's got to be part of it, or else what the hell are you doing?
Why did you decide to make this movie?
It's very difficult to say why. There's, many things. It's more like an instinctual need, There's no like a rational kind of thought. But it's something that you feel, and then you jump, you explore, you touch, and then you get in love, and then it's like, it's exactly like love. There's no rational.
Can you comment on how you made the weather work for you and for your camera, how you...
Well, the weather never worked with me. I have to work with the weather. I have to work for the weather and adapt myself to it. There was some logistics and plannings in advance, sometimes work, most of the time didn't work, but then we have to find a solution to make it work. And that was the challenging part of it. But at the same time, the gift of, being doing a film about men going through difficult weathers and surviving it, and us doing exactly the same, learning from that and capture that.
Cinema is an inherently risky, exciting, and imperfect and emotional medium, and it has to include all of those things. As soon as you start limiting what it is that people can say through movies, you're kind of inherently uncinematic.
Just keep going. Find that thing you love, because it's tough work. And my father gave me this advice when I said I wanted to be an actor. He said, have a backup profession like welding. But I think if you can find that thing that really gives you joy, that'll be it. Because for me, it's always been comedy and stand-up and acting too, because of exploring behavior. But it's tough work, and if you can get it, even better. Good luck.